Hare Krishna. I welcome all devotees to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Let us resume our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 19. Lord Vamanadev begs charity from Bali Maharaj. Let us begin with Mangalacharana. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namasreshtam Manumapi Sachi Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajamurupurim माधुरीं घोष्टवातीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधवासां प्राप्तो यस्य प्रतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि कृष्णादन्यमजानत क्षणमपि स्वप्नेऽपि विश्वेश्वरे तस्मिन् भक्तिमहैतुकीं विदधतो हृत्काय वाग्वी सदा श्रीलान् सद्गुणपुञ्जकेलिनिलयान् प्रेमावतारानहं वन्दे भागवतानि माननुलभम् मूर्ध्ना निपत्यक्षितौ आजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावदातौ संकीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ जयतां सुरतौ पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्य पदाम्भोजो राधा मदनमोहनो नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। चलयसि विक्रमणे बलिमद्भुतवामना पदनखनीरजनितजनपावन केशवधृता वामनरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणाम्। Hare Krishna. So let us revisit very quickly what we have been discussing and what we have discussed so far. Aditi strictly followed the Payovrata, and Lord Vishnu appears before Aditi, and then he reveals his plan to Aditi, and then Lord Vishnu assures Aditi that he would favor her by becoming her son, and then Lord Vishnu enters Aditi's womb, and Brahma offers prayers to Lord Vishnu, and then Lord Vamana appears, and we have seen the sacred thread ceremony of Vamana, and Vamanadev enters Bali Maharaj's sacrificial arena, and he is welcomed by Bali Maharaj with great respect, and then Bali Maharaj requests Vamanadev to take from him anything he wanted. And this chapter we have seen how Vamanadev actually reciprocates with Bali Maharaj's reception. how he praises Bali Maharaj and his dynasty, and how Vamanadev begs for 3 steps of land, and how he speaks on the principles of satisfaction. Bali Maharaj actually says that you should ask something more from me. You are not very intelligent, although your words are like that of a very learned person, but still you are a very small boy and you do not know your self-interest. So therefore, you should ask something more from me. And then Vamanadev speaks on the principles of satisfaction. He says how one should be satisfied with whatever one gets by the will of providence or by destiny, and how important it is to always be satisfied. And if one is not satisfied, how actually one loses his spiritual position, and how he is repeatedly disturbed if he is not satisfied with whatever he gets by the will of providence. And we have seen such instructions by Vamanadev. And Vamanadev says how when the senses are not controlled, then there is always going to be dissatisfaction, irrespective of whatever one achieves in the 3 worlds. Whatever one achieves in the 3 worlds to satisfy one's senses, if the senses are not controlled, he is only going to remain dissatisfied and he is going to hanker for more and more. So today, finally, Shukadev Goswami continues. He says, when the Supreme Lord had thus spoken to Bali Maharaj, Bali smiled and told him, all right, take whatever you like. Now Vamanadev is very insistent that he wants only 3 paces of land. So Shukadev Goswami, he continues and he says, when the Supreme Lord, after having spoken like this to Bali Maharaj, after having asked for only 3 paces of land and for nothing more, and how wonderfully he explained the very great principles of satisfaction, control of senses, to remain satisfied with whatever one is destined to achieve. After he speaks all this, and then Bali tells him, okay, anyway, all right, take whatever you like. And Bali Maharaj is ready to give. And then to confirm his promise to Vamanadev, the desired land, he then took up his water pot. So today we will be seeing Shukracharya's advice to Bali Maharaj. So Shukracharya, who is Shukracharya? Shukracharya is none other than the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj. Spiritual master means he is the family priest of Bali Maharaj. He is the family priest who has been coming since generations for the Asuras. So what advice Shukracharya gives? So Shukracharya is actually witnessing all these things. In fact, he is the one who has actually told Bali Maharaj to make that sacrifice in order that his position becomes very, very strong. And then Vamanadev appears there. So Shukracharya is seeing all this. He is seeing what Lord Vamana had asked, and he is seeing what Bali Maharaj had told, and he is seeing the conversation between both of them. And what does Shukracharya say? Let us see. Vishnavekshmam pradasyantam usana asureshwaram janam chikirshitam Vishno shishyam prahavidam varaha. So understanding Lord Vishnu's purpose, Shukracharya, the best of the learned, immediately spoke as follows to his disciple, who was about to offer everything to Lord Vamanadeva. Let us see what Shukracharya told. Shri Shukra Uvacha Esha Vairochane Sakshat Bhagavan Vishnu Ravyaya Kashyapadaditer Jato Devanam Karya Sadhaka. So Shukracharya says, oh son of Virochana, Esha Vairochane Sakshat. This brahmachari in the form of a dwarf is indirectly the imperishable supreme personality of Godhead Vishnu. Bhagavan Vishnu Ravyaya, accepting Kashyapa as his father and Aditi as his mother. Kashyapa Aditer Jato. He has now appeared in order to fulfill the interests of the demigods, Devanam Karya Sadhaka. So Shukracharya is aware of who is Vamana Dev because of his Brahminical powers. We will see more about Shukracharya in the coming verses, but he is actually aware. He knows that the Supreme Lord, the person who has come there, Vamana Deva, is none other than the Supreme Lord. He knows that the Brahmin boy who has come to beg charity from Bali Maharaj is none other than the Supreme Lord. And he also knows that the Supreme Lord has appeared as the son of Kashyapa and Aditi in order to fulfill the interests of demigods. So let us see what Shukracharya says. So he speaks about Vamana's identity and what is Vamana's purpose. He knows who is Vamana, and he knows that Lord Vamana is none other than, Lord Vishnu, who has appeared as the son of Aditi and Kashyapa. And not only that, Shukracharya also knows the purpose why Lord Vamana Dev had appeared. Pratishrutam tvayet tasmai yadanartham ajanata nasadhu manye daityanam mahan upagato naya. So Shukracharya is saying, you do not know what a dangerous position you have accepted by promising to give him land. I do not think that this promise is good for you. It will bring great harm to the demons. Why is Shukracharya saying like this? So Shukracharya, he is a Brahmana, and he is the family priest. There may be Brahmanas who know Vedas. There may be Brahmanas who have studied Vedas, but who are not devotees of Lord Vishnu, but they accept only the Karmakanda rituals for some materialistic benefit. And they get some powers out of those things because the Vedas are vast bodies of knowledge. So there is everything in Veda. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nishtraigunya Bhavarchana, Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastu, Niryoga Kshema Atma. The Karma Kanda section is there, the Jnana Kanda section is there. So many sections are there. But what is the purpose of Vedas? The purpose of Vedas is Vedescha Sarve Ahameva Vedyo. One should know what is the purpose of Vedas. The purpose of Vedas is to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord, to understand the Supreme Lord, to know who is the purpose of studying Vedas is to know the Supreme Lord. So therefore, by his mystic powers and by whatever pious credit he has, Shukracharya is actually able to understand that the Supreme Lord has come there. In fact, in the further verses, in the further chapters, we will also see that it was actually the inspiration given by the Supreme Lord also. That also the Acharyas, right? But however, Shukracharya, he belonged to the class of a Smarta Brahmana, or he was a Brahmana who had studied Vedas, but he was more interested only in the materialistic gains which one can get by following the Karmakanda section of the Vedas without understanding the actual purpose of the Vedas. So there is faith in the Vedas, but he had faith in the Vedas, but he did not have faith in the purpose of the Vedas. So there are a section of Brahmanas like this who are interested in Karmakanda. So therefore, Shukracharya was actually a family priest. He was a family priest of the Asuras. So therefore, now he understands that Lord Vamana has appeared. Lord Vamana has appeared as the son of Aditi and Kashyapa in order to protect the interests of the demigods. And he knows that Lord Vamana is going to take away everything from Bali Maharaj. So therefore, he is telling, you do not know what a dangerous position you have accepted by promising to give this person land. I do not think that this promise is good for you. It will bring great harm to the demons. So he is speaking because he is the spiritual master. He is the family priest of the demons. So he is interested in the material welfare of the demons. So therefore he says, this kind of promise which you have given to Vamana, it is going to bring great harm to the demons. Yeshate sthanam aishwaryam Shriyam Tejo Yashashrutam Dasyatyachiddya Shakraya Maya Manavako Hari. So here Shukracharya is saying, this person falsely appearing as a brahmachari is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, Maya Manavako Hari, who has come in this form to take away all your land. Yeshate sthanam aishwaryam shriyam tejo yashashrutam. Sthanam, he has come away to take your sthanam, land. Aishwaryam, wealth. Shriyam, beauty. Tejo, power. Yashaha, fame. Shrutam, education. Yeshate sthanam aishwaryam shriyam tejo yashashrutam. He has come to take away all these things from you. After taking away everything from you, he will deliver it to Indra, your enemy. So he is warning Bali Maharaj. He is advising Bali Maharaj that this person who has come as a brahmachari, he is actually none other than the Supreme Lord Hari. And what is he going to do? He is going to take away all your land, all your wealth, all your beauty, fame, power, education, everything he is going to take away, and he is going to give away everything to the demigods, or he is going to give everything to Indra, who is your enemy. So now he is speaking in terms of dualities. Because Shukracharya was a Brahmana. Yes, he had studied the Vedas, but he was not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, or in the sense, he although he had studied the Vedas, he was a person who was more attached to the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, rather than the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas is not to simply enjoy. Although there are Karmakanda sections, although there are Jnanakanda sections in the Vedas, what is the purpose of the Vedas? They are there for different classes of people, so that different classes of people can gradually be elevated from whichever position they are to the highest position of becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. So Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, all these processes are there. But this is not the goal of the Vedas. The goal of the Vedas is not simply to enjoy this material world. The goal of the Vedas is actually Vedescha sarve rahameva vedya vedanta kritveda videya chaham. The goal of the Vedas is actually to understand the purpose of the Vedas. That is the goal of the Vedas. What is the purpose of the Vedas? The purpose of the Vedas is that one should become a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, he is Shukracharya because he was more attached to the Karmakanda part of the Vedas. He was more attached to the wealth which he was getting from Bali Maharaj. He was more attached to the bodily comforts which he was getting by following the Karmakanda section of the Vedas. He was more attached to these things. So therefore, he was always thinking in terms of his body. When a person is more attached to these things, when a person is more attached to, what are all these things? Wealth, your land or your wealth, your beauty, power, fame and education. All these are material opulences. And all these pertain to our body. All these are anyway going to go away one day. But for a person who is attached to all these things, he feels so insecure when these things are going away. So he is very, very insecure now. Bali Maharaj, Shukracharya is very insecure that all these things which actually he is also enjoying. Shukracharya is also enjoying because he is unable to, he does not know a person like this, a person who is attached to the lower principles of the Vedas. He will never be able to understand the higher purpose of the Vedas. A person who is attached to the lower principles of the Vedas, a person who is attached to sense gratification, for such a person, he will never understand the higher truths. Bhogaishwarya prashaktanam tayapaharita chetasham vyavasayatmika buddhi samadona vidiyate. In the minds of those people who are attached to Bhoga and Aishwarya, you know, that samadhi will not come. Samadhana vidiyate. So, after taking everything from you, he is going to deliver it to Indra, your enemy. So, he is feeling very, very insecure. What is going to happen? So, this is the condition of a person who does not know beyond the body. who does not know that there is a soul beyond the body, who misidentifies himself with the body due to being extensively engaged in sense gratification. So what is the meaning of Hari? He says that Hari will just usurp everything. He will just take away everything. Shukracharya says that Lord Hari has come to take away all of Bali Maharaj's land, wealth, beauty, power, fame, and education. Now, the word Hari means one who takes away. Now, what is this? What is one's wealth, beauty, power, fame, and education? What is all this? These are all nothing but they are all material assets or opulences. They are all material assets or opulences. They have nothing to do with the soul. They are only certain assets for the body. And what is the nature of such material assets or opulences? The nature is that, the nature of such material assets or opulences, what is the nature of one's wealth? Today wealth will be there. Tomorrow wealth will not be there. Right? Can we assure that there will be sufficient wealth? Every time, whatever bank balance we have, the same bank balance is going to be there tomorrow also. Even if it is going to be there until death. One day you have to leave it when you die. When we die, will our wealth come along with us? Will somebody withdraw all the money from our bank, all the currency? Say we have some 1 crore money in the bank. Will everybody, will our dependents withdraw the 1 crore and will they burn it along with our body? No, right? Can we take even 1 rupee when we are leaving this body? Even if, see, wealth may be finished anytime. Today we have money. Tomorrow we may not have the same money. We may get some expenditure or we may get some health problem or the money may be stolen. Anytime it can happen. So wealth is not temporary. Wealth is very, very temporary. It is not permanent. Right? What about beauty? Today we may be very proud of our beauty. Tomorrow, they will not be there after some years. Those who are very beautiful, generally it creates some pride. Those who are very wealthy, it creates some pride. But finally, he has to leave his wealth and go. Or the wealth will go, leave him and go. Either the wealth will leave one and go, or one has to leave the wealth and go. Right? So it is temporary. What about beauty? Beauty will be there today. After a few years, the same person who looked so beautiful once is not so beautiful after some years. That is the truth. That is the truth of this material world, because all these material opulences are perishable with time. Power. One may be in a very powerful post or position, but it is not that always he is going to be in power. That power will be snatched away by time. What about fame? One may be very famous, but one may immediately be defamed. Right? And what about education? It is the same thing. So what is the nature of all such material assets? The nature of all such material assets is that they are very temporary. Ma kuru dhana jana yovana garvam harati nimesha kala sarvam maya mayamidam akilam hitva brahmapadam tvam pravisha viditva. Shankaracharya sings in Bhajagovindam. Ma kuru dhana jana yovana garvam. Do not be proud of your ma kuru dhana jana yovana. Do not be proud of your wealth. Do not be proud of somebody who is following you, your followers, and do not be proud of your yauvana, youth. Why? Harati nimesha kala sarvam. Everything is going to be finished in a moment. One moment, anything can happen in this world. A rich man may suddenly die of a heart attack. Recently, I was hearing there is a very, very rich man. Just within few minutes, he was just performing some exercise, and within few minutes, he just fell. He collapsed, finished. Beauty is also finished in a moment. Sometimes in a moment also, you meet with some fire accident or some other thing. All your beauty is gone. Your face is damaged completely. And power, fame, education. So all these things are very, very temporary. And there is another nature. In fact, they are all distractions on the path of pure devotional service. If one has more wealth, then one automatically becomes more proud. When one becomes more proud, he becomes more bodily conscious. Similarly, one has more beauty, he feels that everyone is looking at me. In fact, if any of these opulences, one has a little more of any of these opulences, he is going to feel proud. If he has little more wealth, he always feels proud that I have so much wealth. So many people are, coming to me. And same thing for beauty, power, fame, and education. So these things make a person proud. So when a person is proud, he cannot feelingly approach the Lord. He cannot feelingly approach the Lord. He may take Lord's name, but he will not be able to feelingly approach the Lord. So all these material assets, whatever Shukracharya is saying that Vamanadev is going to take away from Bali Maharaj, all these material assets or all these material opulences are, one is that they are temporary, and second is that they are actually distractions on the path of pure devotional service. They distract us from feelingly approaching the Lord because we become more bodily conscious. When we become more bodily conscious, can we approach the Lord? When we are more bodily conscious, we think that we are the doer. We think that this wealth is earned by me. We think that this beauty belongs to me. This power belongs to me. Whereas actually, Lord is the enjoyer of all these opulences. Lord actually has all these opulences in complete. That is why he is called Bhagavan. He has 6 opulences. What are those 6 opulences? He is the reservoir of all wealth, beauty. He is the reservoir of all beauty. He is the reservoir of all power. He is the reservoir of all fame. There are 6 qualities like this. So the Supreme Lord is actually, he has all these opulences in complete. And wherever we find some opulence, it is none other than that tiny part or tiny spark of Lord's opulence being reflected in that person. Who is the reservoir of all these opulences? The reservoir of all these opulences is the Supreme Lord. So the nature of all such material assets is that they are temporary and they are distractions in the path of pure devotional service. So what is Hari going to take away? Shukracharya is saying, Vamanadev, that Hari is going to take away your land, he is going to take away your wealth, your beauty, but all these things are actually distractions on the path of pure devotional service. So if one connects himself with the Supreme Lord, Hari, then the Lord takes away all his miseries. So this is the special favor of the Lord towards the sincere devotee. Lord is very, very concerned about a sincere devotee. Lord is concerned that the sincere devotee very easily cross all the obstacles and be situated in pure devotional service and come back to him, back to Godhead. If there is something which is distracting a sincere devotee, the Lord will take necessary actions. The Lord will take necessary actions to remove those obstacles. So, if a sincere devotee wants Krishna above everything, he is convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is convinced that he is an eternal servant of Krishna. He is convinced that his purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. When a sincere person is convinced like this, and when he wants Krishna above everything, but at the same time, he is still attached to certain material possessions. On one side, he has complete faith in the Lord and he really wants the Lord. But on the other side, he is still hanging on to some of his attachments, material attachments. He still has some attraction for these material opulences. He still has some kind of, attachment that, he still has some attachment to certain material possessions. Then the Lord is very, very concerned for such a person. Then by all his tactics, the Lord will take away all his material possessions. So that, why does Lord take away all these material possessions? So that this person, so that the sincere devotee can come back very easily to him. So that the sincere devotee can very, very feelingly approach the Supreme Lord. And when approaches the Supreme Lord very feelingly, that is when one becomes a recipient of Lord's mercy. So we have seen, in fact, in the lives of many great devotees, we see how Lord is personally intervening and how he is actually taking away their material opulences at times. He does not do it with, he does it only with very, very advanced souls. Very, very advanced souls. He either takes away all their wealth or their beauty or their opulence or their power. But still, the devotee remains attached to the Supreme Lord. In fact, it is actually a sign of Lord's kindness to the devotee. Due to his extreme kindness, he doesn't want that sincere devotee to be distracted. And he wants that sincere devotee to come back to him very soon. So, there is a very famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Yasyaham Anugrahanami Harishye Tadhanam Shanai Tato Dhanam Tvajantyasya Svajana Dukkha Dukkitam. So what does the Supreme Lord say here? Yasyaham Anugrahanami. If I especially favor someone, Harishyete Tadhanam Shanai, I gradually deprive him of all the wealth. Why? Because when one is deprived of wealth, what happens? The relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. Will the relatives and friends actually, will the relatives and friends, will they come to us or will they reciprocate in the same way with us when we do not have money? Tell me. When we do not have some opulence, will they reciprocate in the same way with us? All the relatives and friends whom we claim to be our own? Sripad Adi Shankaracharya sings in his Bhajagovindam, Yavat Vito Parjana Shakta Stavan Nija Parivaro Raktaha Pasya Jivati Charjar Dehe Vartam Kopina Prichati Gehe Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. He says, so long as one is fit and able to support one's family, just see the affection everyone showers on him. Yavat Vito Parjana Shakta Sthavan Nija Parivaro Raktaha. See how affectionate the people who are around him to him. When one is fit and one is able to support one's family. But again, when one becomes old, nobody even looks at him. So therefore, the Supreme Lord says here, if I especially favor someone, favor someone means who is that someone? That someone is a sincere devotee of the Lord, who is actually attached to the Lord, who actually wants Krishna. But at the same time, he has some small attachments. If he especially favors someone, he gradually deprives them of all their wealth. Why? So that the relatives and friends, we are so much attached to our relatives and friends. We are attached to the society. We are attached to what they think of us, although most of them are envious of us. But still, we take so much delight in their envy. When they are envious of us, we feel so happy. So these kind of attachments are there. But when you don't have money, when you don't have all these material opulences with you, nobody will even look at you. And then at that time, one can actually very, very feelingly depend on the Lord, very, very feelingly call out to the Lord. So therefore, that is the reason he actually does this, not to put the devotee into trouble, in order to make the devotee completely dependent on him. And then he reciprocates very, very wonderfully. We will see what the Lord gives in return. And in fact, we'll see in our further sections also, although Bali Maharaj was deprived of, all these things were taken away from Bali Maharaj, the Lord gives himself to such a devotee. So kind and so merciful is the Lord. So here Shukracharya says that this dwarf brahmachari, this Vamana, would take away everything And he says that he will take away all your material possession and also your mind. Now, what happens when Lord takes away one's mind? When Lord takes away one's mind, one can naturally sacrifice anything to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Savai mana Krishna padaravindayo vacham sivai kunta gunanu varnane. In Ambarish Maharaj section it is there. If one delivers his mind to the lotus feet of Krishna, if one's mind is snatched away by the Supreme Lord, then one becomes completely attached to the Supreme Lord. That is what Shukracharya is fearing here. He says that one can naturally sacrifice everything to satisfy such a person, to satisfy the Lord. He is not only going to take away all your opulences, he is going to take away your mind also. That means you are going to become attached to him. That is his fear, Shukracharya's fear, because if you become attached to the Lord, you cannot be doing sense gratification. Whereas Shukracharya is a person who is attached to sense gratification. So although Bali Maharaj was a devotee, he had some attachment to material possession. So therefore, the Lord, being very kind to such a devotee, he wanted to show him special favor. So that is the purpose of Lord's appearance as Vamanadev. Of course, to protect the interests of demigod, but more importantly, he wanted to favor Bali Maharaj. He wanted to favor Bali Maharaj. And let us see what actually Lord takes away from Bali Maharaj and what Lord offers to Bali Maharaj. So what is the desire? Now we have seen that, this is the desire of the Lord. The desire of the Lord is that sincere devotee of the Lord who still has some material attachments, very, very small material attachments. Such attachments are taken away so that he can come back to the Lord without any delay by feelingly calling out for the Lord. But then what is the desire of a pure devotee? That is the desire of a pure devotee also. We see Kunti Maharani's very famous prayer. Chanmaishwarya Shrita Shri Bhir Edamana Madappuman Naivar Hatya Vidatum Vai Swam Akinchana Gocharam. So Kunti Maharani says like this: your lordship can be easily approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Because if this Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta and Shriya are there, if this good birth and this good opulence is there, high parentage, great opulence, high education and bodily beauty, those who have these things, they cannot approach you with a sincere feeling. These are all impediments on the path of pure devotional service. You cannot approach the Lord. Now, what is this approaching the Lord with a sincere feeling means? See, Lord's holy name has a great potency. So potent. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Statrarpitar Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Eta Drishi Tavakrapa Bhagavan Mamapi Turteva Midrisham Miha Janina Nuraha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Shikshashtakam, all the potencies of the Lord are invested in the holy names of the Lord. So the Lord's holy name has great potency. However, the quality of utterance of the holy name depends on quality of one's feeling. The same holy name, which is very, very potent, can be uttered in two ways, with a great feeling and without so much feeling. For example, if somebody is very, very helpless, let us forget about the holy name of the Lord. You just think a mother has 3 or 4 children, among whom one child is just 1 year old. And the other children are little grown up. Maybe one is 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Who will get maximum attention of the mother? Only the youngest child, the infant. Because the infant, when it calls out, Amma, Amma, when the big, 5-year-old or 6-year-old child calls Amma, Amma, simply, then the mother will know this guy is simply calling just to gain importance. But the moment this young child, this infant, is going to cry, the mother immediately rushes to that infant because the infant is helplessly dependent on the mother. So when one chants the holy name in such a way, helplessly dependent on the Lord, when can one do that? When one is actually deprived of all material attachments. So that is the reason Lord actually sometimes takes away all the material attachments so that the sincere person can chant the holy names of the Lord very, very feelingly. When one chants the holy name in such a feeling manner, then there is no birth for him again in this material world. So the same holy name, when it is uttered in great material satisfaction, it cannot be so sincere. But if it is uttered in helplessness, like we have seen how Gajendra actually uttered, how Gajendra prayed to the Supreme Lord, very, very helplessly he prayed to the Supreme Lord. So that attracted the Lord's mercy. Whereas the same holy name, when it is uttered by a person who is, materially very satisfied, and he is just uttering the holy name, that cannot be very, very sincere. Although the holy name of the Lord is potent, although that person also will get benefit because he is uttering the holy name of the Lord, the same holy name, when it is uttered with a helpless feeling, then that actually attracts the attention of the Lord. So these are the 4 principles of material advancement which are impediments to the progress of devotional service. High parentage, Janma, Aishwarya, good wealth, Shruta, high education, Shribhir, attractive beauty. If anybody has a little more of any of these things, one automatically becomes proud. So these are the things which Lord actually wants to take away. And these are the things which Shukracharya is saying that Vamanadev has come to take away. Trivikramairi malokan Vishwakaya kramishyati Sarvasvam Vishnave Dattva Mudha Vartishyase Katham. You have promised to give him 3 steps of land in charity, but when you give it, he will occupy the 3 worlds. You are a rascal. You do not know what a great mistake you have made. After giving everything to Lord Vishnu, you will have no means of livelihood. Then how shall you live? Look at this Shukracharya, how he is saying, you do not know what a great mistake you have made. How are you going to live now? This is because of lack of faith in the Supreme Lord. Okay, understood that Bali Maharaj has agreed to give, but to whom he has agreed to give? He is the Supreme Lord, who is the maintainer of everyone. Supreme Lord is the maintainer of everyone. If you give something to him, is it that you will have no means of livelihood? Is he going to just cheat on you like this? In fact, he is the one to whom everything belongs to. He is the proprietor of everything. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. We have seen the Ishavasyam principle. Everything animate and inanimate actually belongs to the Supreme Lord. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. So he is the proprietor of everything. And Bali Maharaj, whatever he has, it actually is given by the Supreme Lord only. But Bali Maharaj was in this consciousness that he was just the caretaker. The actual proprietor, the actual proprietor is the Supreme Lord, but he is the caretaker. Bali Maharaj was in this consciousness. But Shukracharya, although he was a learned Brahmana, although he was practicing many austerities and he was doing so many rituals, but still he did not have this faith because he was more attached to the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas rather than purpose of the Vedas. When one is attached to the purpose of the Vedas, he gets a lot of faith. He cultivates Shraddha in the Supreme Lord. He is not promising this to any other person. Bali Maharaj is actually promising this to, if Vamanadev were the Supreme Lord, then anyway, whatever Bali Maharaj has actually belongs to the Supreme Lord only. Not only in this universe, in all the millions and trillions of universes, whatever is there, animate and inanimate, actually belongs to the Supreme Lord only. But see how Shukracharya is saying, after leaving everything to Lord Vishnu, you will have no means of livelihood. Then how shall you live? Which means, how will he live? How will Shukracharya live? When Bali Maharaj does not have anything, Shukracharya also will not have anything. That is his understanding, Shukracharya's understanding. But what is the fact? The fact is that if the person who is approaching for charity is the Supreme Lord, by giving to the Lord, we never become deprived. So what is Shukracharya's insecurity? He was a very learned Brahmana. So therefore he understood that this was a plan of Hari, who had falsely appeared there as a Brahmachari. And Shukracharya was a Brahmana of priestly class. He was a Smarta Brahmana. There are a set of Brahmanas called as Smarta Brahmanas. So they are more interested in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, and they are more interested in making their livelihood through, by receiving remuneration from their disciples. They are more interested in maintaining their body. However, a Vaishnava Brahmana or a Vaishnava is interested only in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are different types of Brahmanas. Okay. So these Smarta Brahmanas, they have faith in the Vedas, but they are more attached to the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. They are more attached to receiving remuneration from their disciples than to the purpose of the Vedas. Okay. So Shukracharya felt that Bali Maharaj's promise would cause havoc to Bali Maharaj, not only to Bali Maharaj, but also to Shukracharya's family, who were actually dependent on Bali Maharaj's mercy. So a Smarta Brahmana is always interested in material profit, but a Vaishnava is interested only in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is actually the difference. Kramatogam padaikena dvitiyena divam vibho khamchakayena mahata tarti yasya kuto gati. Now Shukracharya says, Vamanadeva will first occupy the three worlds with one step, and then he will take his second step and occupy everything in the outer space. And then he will expand his universal body to occupy everything. Where will you offer him the third step? So Shukracharya he's saying all these things because he is actually making use of his logic and reasoning. Logically speaking, when a person asks for charity, and when one person has accepted to give charity, and if that person is going to take away everything, then these things are correct. But who is asking charity here? Charity is asked by the Supreme Lord only. So Shukracharya is trying to apply logic and reasoning to understand what would happen when this charity is actually given. Because he is not conversant of the purpose of the Vedas, because he is more attached to the fruitive actions prescribed in the Vedas, because he is more attached to the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. So therefore, he is unable to understand how the Supreme Lord is going to reciprocate with his devotee. Many of us may be from such a background of a Smarta Brahmana family. We have been practicing certain rituals in our home, but we have never cultivated the attachment to the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord's teachings. We have never cultivated attachment to Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is our situation. Because we would not understand how, although we respect the Vedas, but still we are attached to what material benefit we can get out of the Vedas, rather than to understand the purpose of the Vedas itself is actually to take a person out of this material world gradually. There are certain things which are in the Vedas, but one should understand what is the purpose of certain things. The purpose of those things is not to, the purpose is not that you take those things and remain comfortably in this material world. The very purpose of this human form of life, the very purpose of Vedas is to gradually elevate you. So therefore, there are many, many topics in the Vedas. But if you become attached to the lower topics, then you are not very intelligent. And when you are not very intelligent, you will get all these kind of ideas. You will not have faith. But here, the dealing is going to happen between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee. So Shukracharya is not aware of all this. So therefore, he is asking everything based on logic and reasoning. Where are you going to offer him the third step? He is not aware how the Supreme Lord is so kind and how he is going to actually protect his devotee. All that he can see is that Bali Maharaj is going to be deprived of all his material opulence. And when he is deprived of all his material opulence, what would happen to his body? And if something happens to his body, what is going to happen to Shukracharya's body? That is all he is actually concerned of. So when we are not attached to the Supreme Lord, but we are attached to so many other rituals, what happens is still this great anxiety and insecurity remains. So much insecurity remains. Right? What is going to happen? If my body is not going to be maintained, what is going to happen? We feel that everything is going to come to an end because we identify ourselves so much with the body. So that is what Shukracharya is saying here. We are 5 minutes above time. We can take up some questions. We can continue the next part tomorrow. If there are any questions, we can take up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, actually, you told that Shukracharya was a Vedic and then he's a learned person. Then why he was so this thing about his own wealth and all those things?
I didn't hear you properly. 1 minute, Mataji. Yeah, can you tell now?
Yeah. Actually, Shukracharya was Vedic. He was a learned person for Vedic and all those things. No, Prabhuji. So
Yes.
then why is, after knowing so many things, then why he is so fond of all this wealth and all those things?
Yes, that is what is being actually mentioned here. See, he was a Brahmana, no doubt, and he had faith in the Vedas, but he was more attached to the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas than the purpose of the Vedas. Today we find so many Brahmanas like this. Didn't you find any Brahmanas like that? Mostly the Smartha Brahmanas.
Yeah.
They are attached to the Vedas, they are attached to the rituals, but they are nowhere attached to following regulative principles or taking up to the devotional service. That is the purpose of all Vedas, right?
Yes.
Don't you find Brahmanas today, Mataji, who are very much attached in so many rituals? But ultimately, why they perform all those rituals? They perform all those rituals just to satisfy their senses and to earn money, right?
Yes.
They do this puja, that puja. But what is the purpose of all that? My material life should be comfortable. Right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Such a kind of Brahmana. Okay, he was a cultured person. See, we find different classes of people. Some people want sense gratification, but they do not want, they just want sense gratification like, cats and dogs. They do not follow any rituals or religion or anything. But there are another class of people who follow religion, but for material gain. They are actually termed as Vedavadarata in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. So they are attached to the Vedas, but they are attached to the Karma Kanda section because the Vedas is very, very vast. It gives syllabus as per one's position, spiritual advancement. For somebody who is attached to too much attached to fruitive activities or who are too much in the mode of passion, for them there is some syllabus. For somebody who is in gross mode of ignorance, for them also there is some syllabus. So the syllabus is different. But what is the purpose of the Vedas? What is the ultimate syllabus? The ultimate syllabus or the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is one has to transcend the three modes. That is what Krishna says to Arjuna. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nishtraigunya Bhavarjuna, Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto, Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. So therefore, the Vedas deal with so many sections, but you do not become entangled in these sections. You understand the purpose. In 15th chapter, he says, Vedescha sarve sarvasya chaham hridisannivishtaha matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha Vedescha sarve ahameva vedyo Vedantakrit veda videha chaham. So what is the purpose of the Vedas? The purpose of the Vedas is to understand the Supreme Lord. But we see so many Brahmanas today who are so much interested in money, but they are very religious and pious also, right?
Yes, yes.
Same section of Brahmana, that's all.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for explaining it so beautifully.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।